Today we are joined by David Ward, who is from West Midlands Fire Service. Unfortunately, Isabel can't make it today, who would usually introduce the session before we pass over. So, as always, today's session will be recorded. We can't hear or see you, but obviously you can hear and see us. Obviously, well, I say that actually. You can show your face if you'd like to. We will be presenting the fire service presentation today. We do just ask that you can keep your microphones and your cameras turned off, just to reduce any buffering or any interferences in between. Obviously, as always, you can ask any questions along the way. Please do ask the questions, and once the session has finished, David and ourselves will pick them up at the end. We'll hand over to David then.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for letting me have the time to come and talk to you today. I'll try not to bore you too much, and it's a bit difficult because it's difficult to get the dynamic and the interaction because you can't see people. So if you are brave enough and you're not still in your gym jams or something and you want to put your camera on, that would be great, but obviously don't feel obliged to do what you feel is comfortable. So thank you, Kerry. My name's Dave Ward, and I'm a business partner for the Children and Young People's team from West Midlands Fire Service, and we're part of the wider prevention department within West Mids Fire Service. The West Mids has got some of the highest areas of risk outside of London for fire and RTC, and just under 3 million people we cover across the 7 local authority areas, and 1.1 million homes and 97,000 non-domestic properties. And we cover 900 square kilometres. So it's the second biggest fire rescue service in the country, London being the first, and we're a whole-time fire service. So we have no retained firefighters on our staff. They're all full-time on station across our 38 fire stations in the West Midlands. And we've got 1,200 firefighters, just to give you a bit of background. So I'm one of 4 members in the Children and Young People's team. Some of us are professionally qualified youth workers. Some of us bring different experience to the team. And I've got a question for you, really. So it's difficult because I can't see you. But just to yourself, have you all got a smoke alarm? That's the thing. Have you all got a smoke alarm? Have you got at least one? And hopefully 2 if you live in a property where there's stairs taking you to the first floor. So everybody's probably nodded at that point, haven't they? Gone, yeah, I've got a smoke alarm. Feeling quite smug, yeah. When was the last time you tested that smoke alarm? Think to yourself, have they ever tested it? A few months ago. And somebody now watching is going, yeah, when I did some cooking the other day, it went off. That's not the way to test your smoke alarm. So it should be tested every week. So if you've got a smoke alarm, unless you're testing that every week, how do you know that's going to work? And that's the one thing that's going to wake you up in the middle of the night if you've got a fire. So the message today is, 1, have you got a smoke alarm? And 2, are you testing it every week? And we have a little slogan in the fire service, test it Tuesday. Every Tuesday, test your smoke alarm. And get people in your household involved in that, so they know what it sounds like. And then the next bit of that is, have you had a discussion about what you should do if you have a fire? What's going to be your escape plan? Where do you keep the keys to your property? Yeah. Do you stay at someone else's place when you've been out for a meal, had a few drinks, and you stay at their house? Do you know how to get out of their property? Where do they keep their keys? And these are things that you should be thinking about and discussing with the people that you live with. Now, if you can't answer any of those questions confidently or don't have the answers for that, what do you think about the service users you support? How are they managing that? How are they thinking about that? So if we're not doing these things, and we should be, the people that we're supporting in our communities are probably not doing them either, are they? So that's something quite important to think about to set the scene where we are. We have an attendance time of 5 minutes. So when we get a serious category 1 call, we will attend that incident in 5 minutes. In reality, it's under 5 minutes. It's about 4 minutes 40 seconds, which is quick, but quite long when you're waiting for a response. And that's one of the benefits of having a whole-time fire service and those 38 fire stations is strategically placed that we can respond to serious incidents in under 5 minutes. Okay, so you need to get an escape plan for yourself. You need to be talking to people about that. Can we have the next slide, please? Thank you. So one of the things that we offer members of the public is our Safe and Well. And I know safe and well means different things to different people, but to the fire service, that's a visit you can arrange with operational crew. They come in the big red truck at a predetermined time that you've arranged, and they'll do a safe and well visit in your property to provide you home safety advice around fire risk, to try and reduce that risk, test your smoke alarms to check that they're working, and if they're not or you haven't got sufficient, they'll fit those free of charge. They'll also give advice around the home, so if they see bottles of bleach or something like that out and about, they might just suggest those are put in a more secure position. They'll also give advice on vehicles as well, so if they noticed a car on the drive and they might just clock that the tyres are approaching the legal limit or below, then they might give you some advice around that and about carrying children safely in the car. So it is more than fire, it's about road traffic safety as well. That used to happen in the home. The crew would come to property. We now do them virtually, but where necessary, we will go out if we have to fit those smoke alarms when we find out you haven't got them. There's a phrase there, complex needs officers. If the operational crew can't deliver what they need to deliver in a short amount of time, they've got 30, 40 minutes in the property, and there are additional needs around mental health, life's getting a bit difficult and chaotic for people living on their own, that they need more support, they can, with consent, work with our complex needs officers that will come back and deliver other prevention work to try and reduce the risk. So hoarding is a big issue. Hoarding makes the property difficult to vacate in an emergency. It adds to the fuel loading of the property if there's a fire. So if we can, through our positive relationship we have through this uniform and this badge, we often start in a more positive place than some of our uniformed colleagues elsewhere. So advice and guidance is sometimes accepted better from the fire service than it is from other uniformed organisations. So complex needs officers, that's additional support. Where appropriate and necessary, we can provide additional equipment. Now, we don't expect to be able to change everybody's habits and lifestyles with just a conversation, because it doesn't happen. You know, some people have done things for a long time. They're always going to smoke in bed. They've never had a fire, so there's no reason to stop smoking in bed, or smoking in a particular armchair, or drinking and smoking, or whatever they're doing. That lifestyle might not change, and we have to accept that, but we can provide additional equipment to try and reduce the risk. So, flame retardant bedding, quilt, pillowcases, we can provide flame retardant throws. So if someone lives their life in a particular chair and they don't leave that chair, their whole life is based around that chair, and there's cigarette burns on the carpet and furniture, we can provide a flame retardant throw that goes over that to protect the area. In extreme circumstances, we can provide localised sprinkler systems for someone that lives in a particular location. That's all they do and they won't stop. Then there's a suppression system that basically mists water around them when it goes off in extreme risk situations. For those with hearing impairment, our deaf team provide additional equipment. So it's no good fitting a standard smoke alarm if you can't hear it, but a particular smoke alarm with Wi-Fi access to a vibrating pad that goes under the bed or the mattress or the pillow, and a flashing strobe in the room. So when the smoke alarm goes off, that provides indication to that person that there's a fire and they can evacuate. We have some firefighters that are trained signers, and they go out and do specific visits around that. So Safe and Well is a fundamental activity that we do, and basically that's available to anyone, and they can, we'll put these details up later, but there's a number there that they can ring, and I can give you that information later, or you can do on their behalf to arrange that Safe and Well visit. If you work for an organisation that may make lots of these referrals, my colleagues in the partnership team can set up a referral pathway so that you can make referrals, go into our contact centre, and then we can provide statistics to you over a period of time, but how many referrals we've had from you, and that just keeps it live and active. And we allocate a specific referral pathway number for you for that. So if that's something that you work for an agency, you think that could benefit. If you work in a children's centre and you're supporting families, you might make several referrals in the course of a month or a year, and a referral pathway tracking number might be of use to you. So you can ask me about that at the end. After each home visit, they get this booklet, which reminds them what they've discussed and provides safety advice and stuff inside, and useful information about where they can find things out in their area, and they're left with that as well. Okay, that's safe and well visit. Should we move on to the next slide, please? Right, so the Children and Young People's team, specifically, these are the things that we do. So fire safety tutoring, back in the day, this was called fire setter tutoring. So this is for children and young people that show an unhealthy interest in fire. So they might be lighting fires at home in the bedroom, to their furniture, curtains, wallpaper, tissue in the toilet, fires out in the garden, fires at school. Through a referral process and a referral form, you can refer to us, and then we assess that level of risk and then allocate a trained tutor to that. Those tutors work one-to-one, often in school, but if that's going to stigmatise the child or young person, we'll find another venue. That could be at home, if that's the most appropriate place, or a neutral venue. It's rarely, if ever, done on a fire station. It's not about excitement. This is about consequences to the actions that you're taking. And most young people don't realise that a fire can spread really quickly, and certain things can make that spread much faster, and the impact to them and others is life-changing, if not fatal. So it's for all ages. At the age 4 spectrum end, then a lot of that work that we'll do might be with the adult responsible for that child. So if the child's got hold of cigarette lighters and then started to experiment with fire, then it might be about the adult supervising their cigarette lighters more appropriately. But we try doing it in a sensitive approach. So that's a referral process for children and young people that show an unhealthy interest in fire. We generally don't get involved if there's criminal proceedings for convictions of arson. We will wait for that to complete before we get involved, just because I could be used by the defence lawyer to say that this young person's engaged really well in the process, but then my colleagues in fire investigation then presenting evidence about this person as evidence about committing arson. So generally where there's criminal proceedings, we'll wait until those are concluded before doing intervention. If a young person's been supervised by the Youth Offending Service for other things, then that's not an issue then. We'll just work with them straight away. There's no set number of sessions for that. It can be 1, 2, 3, whatever. Generally, no more than 3 is required, and we close the referral when we've done our work. So it's about the young person understanding the consequences to their actions. That's fire safety tutoring. Francis the Firefly on the screen is one of the storybooks that we use with the younger age group to get the message across. But there's a range of resources that we use, from videos for teenagers to books, jigsaws, colouring and stuff with the younger age group. Could I have the next slide, please? Great. So we run 10 units of fire cadets across the West Mids. They're a uniformed organisation, generally from the age of 11 upwards to 16. When they get to 16, if they want to remain, they then train to become a volunteer instructor, and as 18 become a full-blown instructor. In the Walsall Borough, we have a branch based at Aldridge. They generally just run a 26-week programme for a year and then start with a new cohort the next year. They get accreditation for that, and that involves really hard work. So just like a firefighter would do, squirting water, rolling hose, winding back up again, ladder drill, first aid, search and rescue. But it's much more than that. It's a social opportunity for young people to explore teamwork, the values of responsibility to others, in a fire service model. So I don't have to like the colleagues that I work with. I have to respect the role that they're doing and understand what my role is in that team to achieve the goals that we've been set. So for some young people, the barriers are to achievement. I don't like him or her, therefore I'm not doing the set task. In fire cadets, it's about a teams working together. So if you don't operate the pump or get the water out the fire hydrant out the ground, the two people at the other end waiting for that to come out could be at risk. So it's about following instructions as well, being able to deliver those instructions in a variety of ways, all whilst having fun. And it's quite cool to squirt water and do stuff like that. So 10 units across the brigade, 2 of which support young people with additional needs. 1 in Foleshill in Coventry and 1 at Oldbury. The Oldbury unit is for adults that have stayed with us through their teenage years and don't wish to stop, and they remain. But we have branches in Wolverhampton, Bilston, Aldridge, Handsworth, Wednesbury, West Brom, Oldbury, Foleshill, Coventry and Binley. It's also the recreational side. Often a lot do summer camps. They'll do social activities throughout the year. So it's more than what they do of the evening. They might be doing bagpacks to raise money for things, their camps or whatever. One group, Wednesbury, generally every 2 years compete in the European competition and go abroad for that. Doesn't cost them anything. All their uniform and PPE that you see in the picture there, yellow helmets and PPE equipment is free. Their uniform they wear to attend is also free. We provide all that. All they might need to provide for their unit is anything they want to do from a social perspective, which is about giving back and responsibility to others. And that's our fire cadets. And the next slide, please. How are we doing for time? Okay. Our school delivery, Key Stage 3, 4, and SEN Educators go into schools and deliver packages in Year 8 around the issue of arson, which is not just about the risk to yourself and the long-term effects if you get a conviction for arson, but also the environmental damage, the impact on others around you and who is affected by that. So that could be your family, the adults around you, paramedics, firefighters, police officers, members of the public are affected by the things that you do. So arson is delivered in Year 8, lasts about an hour and is available to all secondary schools. In Year 10, we do road safety, road traffic collision, about your safety as a pedestrian, but also if you're a passenger in a vehicle, strategies to use if you want to leave that vehicle and being more selective about who you travel with and the consequences if you are driving the vehicle underage without insurance and all the rest of it. Again, that's an hour session. We like those delivered if we can, whether there's a collapsed timetable in a secondary school and we're one of many agencies that move around that secondary school in the day. We don't like doing year events as such. So if we're going to do that, small group, class size maximum, repeat that throughout the course of the day. SEN Educators deliver very similar things, but their delivery style is more appropriate to the young people's needs. The picture on the slide there shows you our Safe Side Centre at headquarters, which is we call Safe Side at East Side in Birmingham. Primary schools are encouraged, and some secondary schools up to Year 7 probably, are encouraged to book there. There is a fee payable for that, and we can take up to sort of 60 children or young people in a session, and they'll go around our safety village. So you can see there's a bus in there, there's a bank, some shops, there's an alley that takes you into an undesirable place, which is a shortcut to get home quickly, but there are consequences to that. There's a railway carriage, overhead power lines, canal. I think I've covered everything. So you can have a tour of that village, and safety messages are brought out during that time through our presenters, so that is chargeable. There's also a similar setting at Handsworth, where we have a house, and we do a CSI type thing at our safe side at Handsworth, spotting the hazards that cause fires in the home. So we've got a lot of stuff there to get our prevention messages across. Can I have another slide, please? Teamworx. So this is a program that's been running about 4 years. We set this up in partnership with West Midlands Police, initially in Smethwick, in Soho and Victoria Ward. It's developed into a program that addresses adverse childhood experiences that we work with the police colleagues on. So primary school children, a group of 12 at a time, do a 6-week program, 1 day a week in term time, where we look at trying to increase confidence and self-esteem, raise aspirations and prevent entry into the criminal justice system, either as a victim or offender. That's day one is at the fire station. That's in the slide there. We give them some challenges to look at who can lead, who can follow, and we will have to change that role with some challenges. They set the ground rules. We do some other activities around consequences and teamwork, and that sets the standard throughout the course of the next few weeks of activity. We might go horse riding, we do animal care, we might go canoeing, rock climbing, we might go to the PDSA, the RSPCA. We might go walk over the Longmynd or somewhere like that to get people out in the open. And it's all about addressing those adverse childhood experiences that, with the right input, can change some of those outcomes for children and young people. So living with, well, you probably all know, living with domestic violence, domestic abuse, poor mental health with adults, dependency on subs and alcohol, a variety of things lived with over a long time can influence our life expectancy, increase our risk to serious illness of cancer and diabetes, and increases the risk of reproducing that in our children. So through adverse childhood experience, it started in Sandwell. It also runs in Birmingham as well. We haven't yet to set it up in Walsall, and during at the moment, it's been running 5 years, but at the moment, it's difficult for us to set up with the way things are, but it might be something that we look at in the future in Walsall. Okay, next slide, because I think I'm getting close to my time. Wherever possible, we're working with young people. We'll try and give them some accredited learning. So through Fire Cadets, they get accredited learning. If they come on a bespoke program through our Open College Network, we'll try and get them some credits towards something. And even with our own staff, we provide accredited learning. So we've got a level 2 and level 3 youth work qualification we can put our firefighters through. We also do our fire safety tutoring, is accredited learning. There's a program tutors have to go through to get to become accredited tutors. We also do qualifications for our volunteers. So our volunteers across at Safe Side who do the presentations, our volunteer fire cadet instructors, our photographers that do all our instant photography, they can all go through a qualification to get accreditation, trying to give back something for the volunteering that people do for us. And I think, safeguarding is the other thing that we support. So our operational crews obviously raise safeguarding alerts from incidents they attend or from visits to station from school groups, brownies, guides, scouts or whatever. And often we get disclosures made to us. So we have to train our firefighters to understand what our process is for that, but also how they integrate that into the local authorities referral process as well. So we're responsible for the training and safeguarding. I think if you press the next button, you get to the one that says any questions. Yeah. This is where it goes silent. So
no, we've got a couple of questions, David.
I
think you have answered the first one. So it would have been how would you make a referral for a safe and well check? Can this be done by a support worker, or does it have to be done by somebody who's living directly in the family home?
No, it can be done by anyone. So in the chat thing at the end, I'll post the number that you can ring or an email address to send it through to. But I'll also put my colleague, who's a partnership support officer, Melanie Granger. So if you want to further that conversation more as a partner agency about setting up a referral pathway or something, approach Mel, email her, and she'll be in touch to explain it and chat to you about it in more detail. So, okay. But anyone can do it. If you're doing it on behalf of someone because you know that service user's not going to do it when you've walked out the door, you want to do it there and then, as long as you've got their consent. It is about non-judgmental assessment of fire risk. So we're not going to go in there and make any judgments about how people live other than, did you know, mate, if you move that candle from there to here, it makes it much safer. Mm-hmm. And they can talk anecdotally about jobs that they attend, where the behaviours that you're doing, of course, fires in somebody else's house. So if you can just change that bit and do this, That's fine. So okay, so I'll put all that detail in the window at the end.
That's perfect. A couple of other ones. How can early help teams set a referral pathway?
Right. So when I put in the chat window at the side, I don't know why I'm pointing. It just helps my mind. In the referral, in the chat, I'll put the email address for Melanie Granger. She's a partnership support officer. If you email her to say, had this webinar today and I don't want to look about setting up a referral pathway, she can go through that process with you, because we have a process that means none get missed. If you ring a local station, which is what used to happen, sometimes that bit of paper that the firefighter's written on gets blown off the desk when they get a job at that particular moment. So if you go through our partnership support team, they set up the pathway, everything's logged, we can track, and if one gets missed, we'll know it's got missed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that email address, Melanie Granger, I'll put in the chat after.
Okay,
if you want to set up a referral.
And the last one is, how can a young person become a fire cadet? For anybody that they would need to contact?
Yeah, you can go on our website, which is wmfs.net. And if you go on our main page, go into Children and Young People, you can apply to become a cadet on there. And then we approach the local unit, so whatever's the most appropriate unit. Some have waiting lists, some don't. And what happens then is you'll have an informal chat with probably the lead instructor to start with. They're not meeting at the moment. They wouldn't do during the summer anyway. And we'll probably be meeting towards the end of the year. Once schools will settle down, we'll start meeting. So they have an informal chat. Invite you to come along and have a look with an adult. No pressure. So just because you've turned up to have a look doesn't mean to say that I'm going to assume you're going to start. You're coming to get information for you to make your choice. Come along, have a look, go away, think about it, and if they want to join, fill an application form in, and then they start and have loads of fun.
Lovely.
I'll give you my email address as well. So if anything children, young people related, send it to me, david.ward. But if it's partnership related, Melanie Granger. But if you get it wrong, it doesn't really matter.
That's fine. And what we'll do, David, is obviously following this session, we will email it to everybody who had booked on, not just who's attended anyway, with today's presentation. So we will email out those useful contact numbers and email addresses as well, which will be helpful. Yeah, and I think that is all for questions. Yeah, I think it is, and that is right on time.
He's too young. He's too young to join. I'm just at the top of his head.
Oh yeah, he joins everything. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to sign him off and send him somewhere.
Cool.
Okay, yeah, that's brilliant. So, yeah, as always, thank you for that information. We will send everything